Hi everyone, welcome to History on Trial. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator. We are going to be quickly looking at the Yoruba, and we're going to be looking at the Yoruba as part of, or perhaps the head of, a Hebrew confederacy. For those who are not familiar with the Yoruba, they are a group of people, a cultural ethnic group situated in southwestern Nigeria and Benin. We're going to initially look at this grammar and dictionary book related to the Yoruba language, and this is from 1858, and it relates to the country and people of Yoruba. The good thing about this source is that it not only talks about the grammar and the language of the Yoruba, there is a complete cultural analysis inside of the text. One of the things mentioned in this text, consistent with other historical narratives for those on the west coast of Africa, is the traditions of the Yoruba people as to the origin of their tribe are obscure and contradictory. Now, one of the things that they do note is that the Yoruba are noted as pure Negroes, or they say they are certainly Negroes. And also there's an indication that when the Yoruba mix with certain groups of people, that the manifestation is what is known as red. And so those individuals are known as red men. And this is very similar to the description that is given to those who are understood as Esau or Edom. What's interesting is that there is a distinction made here between the Yoruba and the Moors. And that distinction relates to color or phenotype. So the Moors are described as brown, and then the Yoruba women described as black. And there's also this understanding of this redness being related to also being a mulatto. Now we're going to look at this journal here, and it's the Manchester Geographical Society Journal, and it addresses some additional information related to the history of the Yoruba that's going to shed some light on this obscure history, and this is from 1889. And one thing that is noted here is that the Yoruba is a given name as the name of a former king of one of its provinces. And this individual was thought to rule over groups of people and giving those groups of people the ruler's name, which would be Yoruba. It's also noteworthy that Yoruba is tied to Negro land. Normally, when you are looking at historical information about Negro land, you don't actually see the Yoruba mentioned as such. But here you see this connection made between the Yoruba and Negro land. And here you also see a connection between Yoruba and the Hausa. And you can see here how the name Hausa is spelled in a different way this time. And so you see Hausa is spelled H-O-U-S-S-A. If you look down a little further, you will see that Yoruba has a variety of spellings. And so you can see that it's related to Yarba, which is Y-A-R-B-A, and then also Yoruba, Y-A-R-R-I-B-A, or Yoruba, Y-O-R-U-B-A. And so that's why it's sometimes difficult to trace names and ancestry, because you will see these transliterations where all of the letters are moved around, or sometimes the letters can do double duty. And so you may see a variety of spellings. And also, if you see the name coming from another language, you may see that language spelling that name in a different way. Now this is a tad bit confusing because on one hand it looks like the Yarba, Yoruba, Yoruba are all the same people. However, that's not completely clear and consistent. And so here you see the inhabitants of Yarba descended from the children of Canaan, who were of the tribe of Nimrod. And so there is a pattern of this identifying as the children of Canaan for a number of groups in West Africa. And you also see some dynamics where the individuals also have evidence of being descended from Shem. And so here the author goes on to talk about this particular group, the Yoruba, being driven into East Africa and out of Arabia by Yoruba, the son of Catan. This discussion with Encyclopedia Britannica sheds a different light on this particular cultural group. And so there is this identity historically in terms of the narrative as being descended from Canaan, and also this relationship to Nimrod. What happens though with a number of groups on the west coast of Africa is there is a manifestation of a lineage that is related to Shem. And so that is also the case with the Yoruba. And so you see here, there's a discussion about the Yoruba being descended from and related to Catan. And this is with the Q this time. It was with the K in terms of the other spelling that we were just looking at with that other source. Now, Catan is considered the forebear of the pure or genuine Arabs. There's also a connection to an Adnan or Adnain, considered the forebear of the Arabicized Arabs. Now, the interesting thing about Catan and Adnain is that there is an assertion of descendancy from Ishmael, and Ishmael is the son of Abraham. Now, one thing to note about Abraham and his descendants is this pattern of having favored or favorite children, and then not treating the other children as well as the favored child. And so you have this dynamic going on with Abraham with respect to casting out Ishmael. And then you have another dynamic going on like that with Jacob and Esau, with Esau being a favorite. And here you see additional dynamics, again, tying the Yoruba to this Hebrew tradition. And you can see a river that is located near Dahomey and the Yoruba areas. And the name of that river is the Iso or the Esau. As you can see, there appears to be a confederacy that is made up of a number of ethnic groups on the west coast of Africa. And this confederacy is an ancient confederacy, and it's pretty broad and pretty deep. One of the things that is noted is that these confederacies tend to be shrouded in a lot of mystery. And so one part of that mystery is this claiming of an ancestry that's inconsistent with another ancestral dynamic. And so you see that happening with this claim of being descended from Canaan. And also you see evidence of descendancy from Ishmael, which would be Shem. So you have this claim to descendancy from Ham, which would make them Hamites. And at the same time, there's evidence of them being descended from Shem. And one thing, of course, to note is that this confederacy is the confederacy that was involved in the transatlantic slave trade and perhaps the trans-Saharan slave trade. And so these groups form that network, that foundation of the transatlantic slave trade in collusion with Europe. We are also going to see that there is a deeper connection with Europe in relation to this confederacy versus there simply being a colonized dynamic. If you have additional dynamics to share, you can put them in the comments section. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care. See you soon.